mom?
Okay, no, there's so much blood.
What's going on? I don't know. We just got it.
I'm the dad.
Okay,
Sydney.
what's...
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
On count one, ma'am, I sentence you to an indefinite sentence of 15 years to life in the Ohio Department of Corrections.
Every child has an inner dream of making their parents proud of their achievements. However, this sick daughter did the unthinkable and ended up her own mother to cover up her college failure. It all started on March 3rd, 2020, when Officer Lagasse of the Akron Police Department was dispatched to a house after someone called in for a welfare check. Everything seemed pretty normal from the outside, but the cops had no clue what they were about to witness.
She's on the ground. So there's...
Who is it?
My mom! There's... Someone broke in the back window.
All right, hold on.
And she's on the ground. And there's...
Where's your mom?
No, there's so much blood. No, please!
Man!
She's around the corner now! No!
Stop! Hold on, we gotta figure out what's going on.
1300.
Can you sit down? Can you sit down?
Oh, no, get that 32 roll real quick. We got a female down.
Take her outside.
The cops were shocked to find Brenda Powell lying on the ground, covered in suffered life-threatening wounds. Nearby, her daughter Sydney was crying hysterically. The officers escorted Sydney outside and listened to her story, which was filled with inconsistencies.
You just need to cooperate with me, all right?
I love my dad.
Huh?
I love my dad.
What happened? What's going on? What's going on?
We heard a bang. We heard a bang. And she told me to get out. And then I heard screaming. So I came back and she was on the ground.
Okay, you heard a
I ran
bang.
out back. There was a bang. Someone broken.
Okay. What is your name?
Sydney.
Are you cut?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you're cut somewhere.
I don't think so.
Yeah, your hand.
No, I was helping her. I grabbed her.
All right, stop. I'll tell you what, can you sit on the ground here real quick? Come on. Come on.
You said the ground.
Yeah, you're fine right there.
No.
You're fine right there.
Sydney claimed that a burglar had attacked her mother. However, it begged a question as to why she didn't contact the cops earlier. The reality was much more gruesome, and shortly after, Sydney's father, Steve Powell, also arrived home and was distraught to hear what had happened.
This is minor. They might have a more, I don't know, check that victim in there. She's got cuts on her hands. I don't know what they have in there, but there's a female down in there. Yeah.
What's going on?
I don't know. We just got it.
I'm the dad.
Okay,
Sydney.
what's...
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Daddy!
What? What the hell? Where's my wife?
The window's broken, Dad!
Where?
The back window's broken in!
So you're gonna have to...
Daddy!
There's officers inside there, so...
I don't know! There
Go
was
check
so much
this
blood!
lady in the house, okay? She's got minor cuts. She's got cuts on her hands.
Okay.
So.
Take care of her.
Dave, I think this is, are you dad?
Yeah, I'm the dad.
Can you stay here with them?
We have another, I'll call for another med unit for her.
Somebody has my wife.
12.
The officers immediately called EMS, who arrived in no time, and Brenda was transported to the hospital. Steve was gutted to see what had happened, but he had no idea that his entire life was about to be turned upside down. Sydney, who was a college student, had received 3 Fs in her 4 subjects from the previous semester and was unenrolled from the college. As her mother discovered this, Sydney used a heavy cast iron skillet and struck multiple times in the head. She then used a stick and stabbed her poor mother 23 times in her back and shoulder. The officers took away both Sydney and her father to interrogate them about the scene.
I said, "Oh, Mom's on the phone with Mount Union." I said, well, the cops are on the way. And she went, there's been a break-in, and she just started going off. She said, what? She said, there's been, somebody broke into the house. There's blood everywhere. And I'm like, stop. And then that's when I called. I'm sure there was conversations after that.
Right.
But I sent Mount Union Billing an email and says, basically, what's wrong? So she called me back today and says, well, the reason you can't get on, long story short, is your daughter's unenrolled. So I went, what? What's going on? So I text Sydney. I'm like, oh, give me a call. I have a question to ask you. I call her, no answer. I say, give me a call, question to ask. I have a question to ask you. And I look on that little Life 360 app, and her car was at home. I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird. So I leave my phone at home so she can't track me. And I go home, and there she is. She's at home. Perfectly normal. She's crying because I said, what's going on? Are you not going to school? She goes, I'm overwhelmed in school. And I don't really like what I'm doing, and it seems like it's a waste of my time and your money.
Brenda had received a call from Sydney's college where she found out about Sydney's grades. However, she had no idea that her life would literally come crashing down while she heard this news. As the dean remained on the line, she heard Brenda's cries and loud noises in the background, prompting her to immediately dial 911 for help. Let's see what she had to say about this whole encounter.
I'm sitting here with Michelle Gaffney, our associate dean of students. We're returning your call, and that's about as far as we got.
Did Brenda respond to that introduction at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
What did she say?
I think he asked, "Is this Brenda Powell?"
Oh, okay.
And she said yes, and then he identified himself.
Okay. And Miss Gaffney, what happened next?
There was a very large or a very loud sort of thud sound, like a pounding or a thud, accompanied by a pretty loud scream, and the scream might have actually been first, and then the thud.
Okay.
As I think about it, and then there was sort of an expulsion. The other sound that I heard at that same time, or right after, was sort of an expulsion of air, like the air was knocked out of somebody.
Okay.
I'd always heard that expression of the air being knocked, having the wind knocked out of you, but I didn't. That's actually what it sounded like. And then several more repeated thuds. I don't know how to describe the sound.
No, and that's okay. And you and Mr. Frazier could hear this from the other end of the phone.
From the other, it was on speakerphone, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you hear any communication during these thuds?
Just the screaming.
Meanwhile, Steve was not aware yet that his daughter had killed his beautiful wife. He was still trying to comply with the officers while his wife was battling for her life at the hospital. He was hoping that she would pull through, but unfortunately this was not the case.
I made it in far enough to see the back fence. When you go into the front door, you come around the kitchen, you go in, you can see there's like a pass-through between the kitchen and the family room. From the back of the house, I could see the right hand, there's two big sliding windows. I could see that window was clearly, it looked like it was busted, and the blinds they looked like they were pushed in. Went down the hallway probably about 2 feet, just didn't see blood all the way down the hallway, and then somebody told me I gotta go home. As I was yelling, and there was no response for me.
Now, the back door, sliding door, do you guys use that at all?
No. There's a couch in front of it. We do in the summer. When the couches move, the love seats usually move from the sliding doors here. The couches you move over into like this area, and we go back out that back door for the patio and stuff.
And that's locked.
Uh-huh.
Do you have like a safety?
There's a lock, and there's a lock on the bottom of it too.
Okay.
And the sliding glass one, there's a lock, but I don't sure the button isn't.
On the window?
Yeah, the window. There's sliding windows is what was busted open.
Right, I saw
Okay, yeah, there's the sliding door that we don't. We haven't used it since last probably fall. Once we got our Christmas tree, Thanksgiving, we moved the couch out of the way and put the tree in that corner.
Soon after, the officer delivered the devastating news to Steve that his wife had passed away, and there was a strong suspicion that his daughter had. Steve went into shock, breaking down into hysterical tears. Later, investigators brought in Sydney's friend, Lauren, to shed light on the incident, since Sydney remained silent during her interrogation.
Tell us about Sydney. When did you first meet, and how long have you known each other?
I've known Sydney for 6 years. We met the first day of summer gym in high school, and then we were best friends ever since. Very close.
And what are you doing now?
I'm at school.
Okay, where do you go to school at?
I go to the University of Mount Union.
Okay. Did you notice any change in her mood? Was she talking about anything or?
I could tell she was getting more upset, like more sad. And I told her, I was like, I'm here, like, you can tell me I'm here for you. If you need anything, I'm here. But she never really opened up until she was leaving and saying that she was struggling with school and that she was kind of trying to figure out what was going on. And that's when I started to try to help her. And then she ultimately decided to leave, which I thought would maybe be good for her, just to get her mind off the rest of the semester and then come back or go to Akron or something the next following fall semester, kind of hoping that would help her.
The investigators handled the situation delicately, avoiding direct confrontation with Lauren. After chatting for 15 minutes about various topics, they finally broached the critical question related to the gruesome case. And her answer will leave you stunned.
I know this is difficult, but tell us about her relationship with her parents.
Her and her parents had a really good relationship. Like, her mom and her were best friends. Probably, like, they did everything together. Like, one of the reasons she went home was to be with her mom. They were always close. She never said anything bad about her mom. She never ever talked about having an argument with her mom. Like, I can't recall every time she'd be going home, she's like, I can't wait to see my mom. Or when she goes home for weekends, she'd be like, oh, my mom wants me to come home so we can hang out and like watch movies. And she loved being home. And she had a good relationship with her dad too. Like, I know that her and her dad liked to watch like Star Wars together, and he always like cooked food at the house. Like, he liked cooking, and she'd always talk about how good his food was and what they would get each other for Christmas and things about spring break. Like, she loved being home with her family.
Lauren's comments were completely different to what had actually happened. According to her, Sydney had loving parents and that she was thrilled to have them. It's concerning to see how a person goes from this to her own mother.
Had she removed all her things, or what about, did you get the impression that she was moving out at that point for good?
When she told me that Tuesday morning, we woke up and she was talking, she's like, I need to tell you something. My family and I decided that it'd be better to take the rest of the semester off, and I have to leave today. And then she packed up all of her stuff and kind of told all of her friends, and then she left that Tuesday with all of her stuff, all of her bedding, all of her clothes, all of her items.
And that was a Tuesday before the incident happened?
Yes.
Did she have any friends that wasn't in your friend circle there, like friends that she had maybe made on her own that you're aware of?
Not really, because usually she was either in the dorm or hanging out with us or sorority girls, but I knew all the sorority girls too, that they were my friends. We had a lot of the same friends.
So her circle of friends pretty much consisted of the sorority girls that you were in and some of the cheerleaders that she met through you.
Yeah.
Had you ever seen her taking any drugs or anything, or any medications for nothing? Nothing at all? Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you know of that, did you hear from anybody else that she might have done that? Have you ever heard anything like that?
No.
The investigators had spent quite a bit of time questioning her, but couldn't extract any concrete information about Sydney. That's when the other officer questioned her about Sydney's social media presence and whether she had ever behaved weirdly online.
Any social media?
She had Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter.
So did any of that ever look weird, dark, anything to you?
She never posted anything, so not really, no.
Okay.
Any guy friends that were back here in Akron that she hung out with?
Not really, no. When she was here, she usually used to hang out with her family. Like, her close friends were kind of the ones at school.
What's your relationship with her brother like?
They had, I think, like a normal sibling relationship. Like, they love each other and they'll do anything for each other. They also, brother and sister argue and stuff like that. So I think it was pretty relatively normal. Like, she loved her brother. She told me that all the time. Like, I talk about Steven, she talked about Andrew.
The officers didn't get anything significant through the interview, but all the evidence suggested that Sydney was the... Soon, she was charged with 2 counts of murder alongside other charges. Her father was distraught during her trial as he testified to the murder of his beloved wife.
What was, when she told you this, what was your response to her?
That we would work it out.
Okay. Do you remember telling her, and I know you had a conversation with the police too, do you remember telling her that, you know, you can't run away from your problems, you have to face them?
I said we'd go through, let's get through this semester, and if you needed to take the summer off or go to, we would work through it. I remember she said, you know, all her friends have their shit together and she doesn't, and I told her, no, that's not true.
She said she didn't, Sydney said, I don't have my shit together, but my friends do?
Yeah. She didn't know what she wanted to do, it sounded like.
Sure. Do you remember telling her, you know, let's call the school back, get reinstated, something along those lines?
I think I said, let's call your mother.
I'm sorry.
I think I said, let's call your mother.
Okay, and why did you say that?
Brenda was better at things like that than me.
Okay.
Steve had watched as his entire life came crashing down on him, and it was extremely courageous of him to explain everything. However, he kept breaking down throughout and was barely managing to hold himself together. On the other hand, Sydney also kept crying, but she doesn't deserve any sympathy whatsoever.
Sydney and Brenda argue?
No.
Did they ever have loud screaming matches?
No.
Did any arguments ever, did they ever get physical?
No.
Was that a part of who Brenda was or could be?
Not in the least.
Was before March 3rd violence a part of who Sydney was or could be?
No.
March 3rd, before she got into the EMS, at the bottom of your driveway?
Oh, yes.
And we saw the body cam of Sydney laying there on the driveway earlier this morning. Have you ever seen Sydney like that before?
Never.
Sydney was taken from your house to Akron City Jail. I'm sorry, Akron City Hospital.
I believe they never really told me where anybody was.
Do you believe for a second that Sydney would kill her mother because of an argument?
No.
The objection, I'll allow it.
No, I do not.
Despite everything, Steve refused to admit that Sydney would go on to murder her mother on such a small matter. Later, Sydney's lawyers claimed that she was having schizophrenia episodes during the incident. Her father also wasn't keen to file murder charges against her. However, despite everything, justice had to be served.
Ms. Powell, is there anything you want to say to me at this time? All right. Thank you very much. First of all, to the victims, to the family and friends, I am terribly sorry for your loss here. I cannot imagine what you have been through. I have received and read all of the letters that have been sent to me. I have considered the evidence that was brought into evidence at the trial, the statements of counsel, and all of the information that is before me at this time. Based upon the facts and circumstances of this case and in consideration of the relevant sentencing factors, including seriousness and recidivism, and applying the minimum sanction that the court has determined will protect the public and punish the offender without imposing an unnecessary burden on state and local resources, the court imposes the following sentence. On count 1, ma'am, I sentence you to an indefinite sentence of 15 years to life in the Ohio Department of Corrections. On count 4 of the indictment, I sentence you to 3 years in the Ohio Department of Corrections. Those two sentences to be run concurrent with and not consecutive to each other.
The judge sentenced Sydney to 15 years in prison after the jury found her guilty in the murder of her mother, Brenda Powell. Sydney, however, plans to appeal this decision, but I believe that the punishment should have been even more than this. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. This case has been one of the most disturbing we've encountered in recent months, with every detail as chilling as it gets. It's absolutely shocking how a daughter who seemingly loved her parents would commit such a horrible and gruesome act. Fortunately, she is now behind bars, but that doesn't change the fact that a once happy family has been destroyed. If you agree with me, please consider showing your support by liking this video, and make sure to subscribe to stay informed about future cases like these. Also, if you enjoyed this video, check out the next video here.